Hey everyone, have you ever heard of the Sea Peoples? They're one of the greatest mysteries of ancient history. Imagine a time around 276 to 1178 BCE, when these mysterious naval raiders terrorized the coastal towns and cities around the Mediterranean, especially targeting Egypt. They were like the pirates of their day, causing chaos during what we now call the Bronze Age collapse. Now, here's where things get really interesting. No one actually knows who they were or where they came from. The only records we have about them mostly come from Egyptian sources. The Egyptians described them as fierce invaders, coming from the sea in warships that no one could stand against. They weren't just a small group either. Egyptian records tell us that the Sea Peoples were made up of several tribes, with names like the Sherden, the Shekelesh, and the Lukka, among others. These tribes weren't just raiding Egypt, they were causing problems all over, even hitting the Hittite Empire and parts of the Levant. But here's the kicker, we still don't know exactly where they came from. There are plenty of theories though. Some say they might have been Etruscan, Trojan, or even from Italy or Greece. Others suggest they could be Philistines, Mycenaeans, or Minoans. But since we haven't found any solid proof, all of this remains a mystery. The name, Sea Peoples, is actually a modern term, first used by a French Egyptologist in the 1800s because ancient texts only said these tribes came from the sea or from the islands without giving specific details. So, their origins, still a huge question mark. What we do know though is that three great pharaohs, Ramses II, Merimta, and Ramses III, had some intense battles with them. These pharaohs claimed big victories and made sure to carve their stories into history, literally. Ramses II, or Ramses the Great, was one of Egypt's most powerful rulers. Early in his reign, he fought the Hittites for control over the trade routes in the important city of Kadesh. During this conflict, the Sea Peoples are mentioned in the records. What's wild is that they were actually fighting on both sides. Some of them fought as allies with the Hittites, while others were hired as mercenaries by Ramses himself. This shows just how chaotic and widespread their influence was. Ramses even claimed to have beaten them in a naval battle near Egypt. He tricked the Sea Peoples into thinking they were attacking a small Egyptian fleet, only to ambush them from the sides and sink their ships. Afterward, many of them were captured, and some even became part of his army as elite bodyguards. Pretty intense, right? But despite his victory, the Sea Peoples didn't go away. Ramses' successor, Merimta, also had to deal with them. They teamed up with the Libyans to invade Egypt during his reign. Merimta describes how they attacked Egypt in the 5th year of his reign, bringing with them not just warriors, but also their families and tools, clearly hoping to settle down. And after Ramses II and Merimta, it was Ramses III's turn to deal with the relentless Sea Peoples. These guys didn't back down easily. They first attacked and destroyed Egypt's key trading hub at Kadesh, and once again attempted to invade Egypt. Just like before, they started with quick coastal raids, very similar to how they operated during Ramses II's reign. But this time, they were even bolder, pushing straight towards the Nile Delta. Ramses III, however, wasn't about to let Egypt fall. In 1180 BCE, he defeated them, but the Sea Peoples weren't done. They returned in full force. Ramses III, being the strategist he was, prepared Egypt for what was coming. In his victory inscription, he describes how the Sea Peoples conspired on their islands, forming a massive confederation. They destroyed everything in their path, from the Hittite state to cities like Carchemish and Elashia, leaving total devastation behind. They believed their plan was foolproof, confidently thinking no one could stop them. This confederation included tribes like the Peleset and Chukar, which may have been from regions around Palestine or Syria, but no one knows for sure. These were the same Sea Peoples who had joined forces with the Libyans during Merimta's reign, now back with even more confidence. They had already toppled the mighty Hittite Empire, and it seemed like nothing was standing in their way. Ramses III, fully aware of how dangerous they were, chose not to meet them head-on in a large battle. Instead, he adopted guerrilla tactics. He strategically set up ambushes along the coast and in the Nile Delta, using his archers to devastating effect. Hidden along the shorelines, they waited until the Sea People's ships were close before raining down a storm of arrows. With their crews dead or thrown into chaos, the ships were then set ablaze with flaming arrows, wiping out much of the sea assault. With the naval threat neutralized, Ramses turned to deal with the remaining Sea Peoples who had made it onto land. Using similar ambush tactics, he finally defeated them near the city of Zois in 1178 BCE. Egyptian records again paint a picture of glorious victory, with many of the Sea Peoples slain or captured. Some were pressed into service in Egypt's army and navy, while others were sold into slavery. Although Ramses III successfully defended Egypt, the war was incredibly costly. The treasury was so drained that workers in the royal tombs went unpaid, leading to the first recorded labor strike in history. After their crushing defeat, the Sea Peoples seemed to disappear from history. There are no more records of them after 1178 BCE. Some might have been absorbed into Egyptian society, while others simply faded away. But for nearly a century, they were the most feared raiders in the Mediterranean, posing a constant threat to Egypt's stability and power. Yet, despite all this, the Sea Peoples remain one of history's greatest mysteries. Who were they really? Where did they come from? Many scholars have their theories, but no definitive answer has ever been found. Ancient Egyptian inscriptions give us the best glimpse into their existence, but even these texts leave much unanswered. The Sea Peoples seem familiar to the Egyptians, suggesting they might have had earlier interactions, possibly even as allies. But their sudden, destructive invasions still baffle historians today. Some scholars, like Mark van der Meerop, believe we may never truly know who the Sea Peoples were. In his view, the passion surrounding the Sea Peoples stems from their enduring mystery. They continue to fascinate us because they represent something unknown, something just out of reach. And as humans, we've always been drawn to mysteries like this.